here. Finally here. We have to wait 7.5 hours for kickoff. Some of you guys might be watching a little later, might be less than that. But we're getting closer and closer. And we will find out tonight who is going to the Super Bowl. Yeah. Tonight's the night we find out. This feels like the People's Super Bowl. This feels like a Super Bowl, man. I've just been getting Super Bowl vibes with this game. And I'm sure Eagles fans and Commanders fans kind of feel the same way, because that is literally a division rival that's happening tonight. They're meeting for a third time. They split the regular season series. Whereas, with the Chiefs, and I heard some of the Buffalo radio guys from the Buffalo Bills radio crew that do the games, they were on some national radio over the weekend, and they basically said this feels like a division rival because the Chiefs and the Bills play each other every year, sometimes twice a year, a lot of times twice a year. So it kind of feels like a division rivalry. I know so many people are focused in on Mahomes versus Burrow because of the fact that, the Bengals got 3 on Mahomes at one point. Obviously, that is way in the past now, and the Chiefs have won 3 in a row since then. But the Chiefs, they've only met twice. And those, don't get me wrong, those were 2 massive AFC championship games. But the Chiefs and the Bills just have had the more epic matchups in the playoffs. The 13-second game, last year's game, the divisional round, the AFC championship game about 4 years ago. Okay, that wasn't as big. It was more of a one-sided game in the fourth quarter. You kind of knew who was going to win that game, but this just feels like a division rivalry. And obviously, they've had some games in the regular season that have come down to the wire. This is now their 9th meeting all time. And this is the 4th in the postseason between Allen and Mahomes. That is the second most for any quarterback head-to-head matchup in NFL history, trailing 1 behind Brady versus Manning, which is insane to even say. To have that many already in the playoffs. Yeah, I think it's fair to say that this is a much bigger rivalry than Mahomes versus Burrow. Because I know a lot of people are always like, oh, who's Mahomes' biggest rival? Well, it's definitely not anyone in the AFC West. I suppose for a while it was Burrow because he had the 3-0 record. Obviously, that is way in the past. And I sure as hell don't hear Bengals fans bragging about head-to-head records anymore. But now you see Allen. I think Allen has kind of taken the lead for being Mahomes' biggest rival, because he wins often in the regular season, but Mahomes always wins in the playoffs here. So this is one where I think, this is a huge deal, because every year when Buffalo seems to have their best season, and they certainly do show that year after year that they're getting better and better. Even this year with all the turnover they had, it always comes to an end by Kansas City. Does that happen today? Does history repeat itself? Do we see history get made tonight where we see a quarterback go 4-0 head-to-head against another quarterback for the first time ever in a postseason? That's never happened before. So there are a lot of things. And obviously the Chiefs want a 3-peat. The Bills, they have not. Last time they were in the Super Bowl, that was back when they lost 4 in a row. So this is a huge deal for Buffalo as well. They definitely want to right the ship here and finally get over the hump and go win that Super Bowl. So there's, because I think for Bills, look, there's a lot of pressure on both sides. Obviously, the Chiefs, they want to make history. They want to get the 3-peat to happen. Guys like DeAndre Hopkins and Kareem Hunt, veterans who've been around for a long time. This is their chance. Everyone knows the story with Kareem Hunt getting a second chance. DeAndre Hopkins, a Hall of Famer that just hasn't been able to get even close to a Super Bowl. This might be their one and possibly last chance at a Super Bowl. So those guys certainly are feeling the pressure. And then you have the Bills who, I kind of alluded to this a moment ago. The Bills every year seem to have the best team on paper, and they have maybe the best team going into the playoffs, and it always comes to an end by Kansas City, and they really want to get over the hump here. So We'll see what happens. I think it's going to be Kansas City. I said it on the podcast earlier this week. I'll say it again, 27-24. That is my score prediction. That was my score prediction for last year's divisional round game. And I ended up being right. So I said, why not? Let's run that score prediction back. So I'm going to go with 27-24. I don't really know. Like, I can't say with exact certainty what kind of a score, final score we're going to get. Could it be a low scoring game? I'm not going to dismiss it, but I think there's a low chance of that happening. Could we see a game in the 20s? I remember asking you guys for your score predictions. A lot of you guys thought so. Maybe one or maybe both teams would get to the low 30s. Is there a possibility this just ends up being a wild shootout? Maybe not like the Monday Night Football game against the Rams several years ago, but maybe something similar to what the Chiefs and Patriots had that same season, where I think the Patriots beat the Chiefs 43-40 with a field goal as time expired. I think it would be something along those lines. Maybe. I don't know. It's kind of hard to predict the same because this could be all over the place here. I can see both teams doing anything and everything, doing whatever it takes. Here's the thing. I do think Kansas City's window is closing because I do think there's going to be a lot of turnover. It doesn't appear like the Chiefs are going to lose any coaches, but keep in mind, Brady and the Patriots, they had a little bit of a Super Bowl hiatus. They did go back, but they lost 2 Super Bowls to Eli Manning and the Giants. But they went 10 years without a Super Bowl win. I think Kansas City, maybe it's not going to be 10 years. Maybe it does. Who knows? But I think Kansas City is going to go through what the Patriots went through, where they're going to maybe have a little bit of a hiatus and not go to a Super Bowl for a while there. So this would be a time to make that three-peat happen, because, and not that I think any coach would ever think that next year, but from a fan standpoint, it's like, okay, you don't get 4 in a row next year. Okay, big deal. You got 3 in a row. So, but I do think there's going to be a lot of turnover personnel-wise. So I think it's got to happen then. The Bills, I think the Bills are in a position where they're just going to be getting better. I mean, they got rid of a lot of guys due to cap restrictions, and maybe that'll allow them to be even better if they can draft well. So the Bills are definitely going to be around. And if next year the Chiefs don't make it back, that's an open door for a team that's never won a Super Bowl, like Lamar and the Ravens, like Josh and the Bills, Burrow and the Bengals, to maybe get one finally on an actual down year with Mahomes not being there. But that's a topic for another time in the future. For now, listen, I got Kansas City in this one here. I see a lot of guys are coming in here, by the way. I'm trying to skim through the comments as I go here. I went through my 3 keys this morning. If you haven't heard it already, by the way, I have to address this comment here because Max Shan says, when the Chiefs win, I can already hear Travis Kelce on TV. Remember when Patrick Mahomes blocked Travis Kelce from getting to the mic at the White House? CBS is going to do that, because I saw Matt Verderami from Sports Illustrated. He put out a tweet this morning that, there are a lot of people in the media speaking against Kansas City and how they got to this point and all of that. And the fact that, like, the Chiefs are already motivated to get a three-peat, but you can't lie. Like, there was this, whole thing about bulletin board material, right? The Chiefs have a lot of that, especially recently with people saying, oh, they're the cheats, they get the refs, all this crap. Well, get ready, because if you're a Chiefs hater, you are definitely going to want to turn off that post game. And if you're CBS, you might seriously have to consider pulling the plug during the live broadcast of the post-game speech, because Travis Kelce is going to have a lot to say. Travis Kelce, I mean, he was the guy who quickly made a comment about the Burrow head, made a comment about the Cincinnati mayor in his interview with Pat McAfee a couple of weeks ago. He addressed, we hear what Rex Ryan is saying out there. We hear what other people are saying. So, it's not like 15, 20 years ago where, social media was just getting started, so not everyone was on there. Now everyone's on there, and ESPN, Fox Sports, all these other media outlets, they'll go out there. Sometimes even with my content on my podcast, or if I have a guest that says something, it might make the rounds and people are going to notice what's being said out there, good or bad. Usually it's the negative that really gets going for a lot of these players. Players have always, taken note of what's been said about them for years, especially those coming out of the draft, reading the scouting reports, what's said about, they're too small, too slow, whatever. But now it's like you hear everything. You don't want to admit it sometimes. At least the athletes 15, 20 years ago, they always said, yeah, we don't know it. We don't know what's being said out there, because social media wasn't as big back then. Now it is, where clips are out there. Everything's out. The receipts are out there. Oh boy. The receipts are definitely going to be out there after the game, regardless who wins. This is going to be very interesting. So I had to address Max Shan's comment, excuse me. And I hope I'm saying your name right. But I do want to go into my 3 keys from this morning, and I'm not going to go deep into it. So I'll let you guys watch it so you guys can hear all the full analysis on that. But my 3 keys are: contain Josh Allen, going to be very important. Probably might decide the football game today. Take care of the football. Both teams have done a great job taking care of the football this year. Very, very limited on turnovers. The Chiefs, not so much earlier in the season, but they got way better about it as the season went along. Mahomes had a lot of questionable passes that he threw. Carson Steele had about 2 or 3 fumbles earlier in the season. I think he lost maybe one of them, but lost a couple of the others. But Carson Steele hasn't been playing much since then. And in fact, I don't think he's carried the ball outside of that Broncos game. Mahomes has been much better with the football. His stats are certainly not what they were in the 2 seasons he's won MVP, but taking better care of the football, I think I'd rather go that route. I know a lot of people compare that to what Alex Smith did years ago, where his numbers weren't great, but he did a good job of taking care of the football, and that allowed the Chiefs to win a lot of games, even with Alex Smith back then. Maybe not so much in the postseason, but still helped the team get to the postseason more times than not. And then my 3rd key is the 3rd down battle here. It's interesting how similar the Chiefs and the Bills are on 3rd down. They're both top 10 offensively in 3rd down conversions. And then when it comes to playing defense on 3rd down, conversions allowed, Kansas City is the 4th worst. Buffalo is the 5th worst. So they are really neck and neck when it comes to how they play on 3rd down. Kansas City has the edge offensively on 3rd down, but when it comes to trying to stop a team on 3rd down, they are neck and neck right there. They are very similar in that area there. So I do think 3rd down is going to play a big role. And obviously, there are going to be other keys, but those are my 3 big ones. I think if you're the Chiefs, you got to get the entire offense involved here. I know we're keeping a very close eye on Christian Benford. He's been limited all week in the concussion protocol, and he did not practice Friday due to a personal matter. Now, I'm seeing a lot of speculation out there. I think somebody put out the concussion protocol out there that a player must be a full participant in one of the practices, or at least on the last practice, if they're going through the concussion protocol. And Benford was not there for personal matters. And I see people speculating, the Bills are trying to work around the rule of the concussion protocol. I don't know. We'll see how the NFL. I said this earlier in the week, but I'll say it again. And listen, this was the case when Mahomes went through the protocol a couple of years ago when he suffered that hit against Browns in the playoffs. Concussion symptoms seem to be very little in the playoffs. You all know why. I won't get into that. But yeah, that's huge. Taylor Rapp is not going to play. He had that interception against Lamar Jackson last week. And I think they're going to have a rookie who's going to be filling in there. I don't have his name in front of me. I had it earlier. Let me pull that up while I'm talking to you guys. But yeah, listen, I'm not too big on Buffalo's secondary anyway. The fact that they're going to be without 1, maybe 2 guys, and I'm telling you, man, if Christian Benford is out, that is a massive play. By the way, Kyle Bishop's the rookie, or Cole Bishop, excuse me. Yeah, he was their 2nd round pick this season. So, if Benford's not there, I would be very concerned from a Buffalo standpoint, because Russell Douglas, not a very good cover corner. They also have Taron Johnson. He's had a couple of picks this year, but has struggled in coverage this season. That's going to be an issue for Buffalo's secondary there. And look at Kansas City's offense. You got Xavier Worthy, who's gotten better and better as the season's gone along. Travis Kelce, I mean, not a wide receiver, but Travis Kelce just had a huge game, and I'll get back to Kelce in a moment here. You have Hollywood Brown, who, has now played a few games with Mahomes. I know he didn't have any catches last week, but Mahomes certainly was not shy about trying to get a couple of throws his direction, because I like what Hollywood Brown was doing in terms of his route running. That wasn't the issue. Just the connection was a little off there. First one overthrown by Mahomes. The second one, just a good play by that defender, getting in there at the very last second, keeping an arm in there and not allowing him to make that catch, not interfering with him. I thought it was a good play overall, but just didn't allow that catch there. So I think Mahomes and Hollywood, they definitely have a good feel for each other on the field. They spent a lot of time together in the offseason and training camp and OTAs, had a good connection down there. Obviously, it's not going to be the same as it would be in a regular season game. They played a couple of regular season games together and did well against the Texans and the Steelers in back-to-back games, and they had the Texans playoff game. Again, I know no connection was made there, but still a couple of tries for sure. So I think now Mahomes and Hollywood are at a point where it's like, okay, we know what to expect from each other on the field. Hopkins, he only played 16 snaps last week, and there were a lot of Chiefs fans saying that this was intentional because they're holding him back and they don't want to use him too much, which I didn't really agree with. And then Matt Nagy came out this week and was asked about that. He said that was not intentional, nor was it part of the plan, and that kind of concerned some Chiefs fans. So I'm not exactly sure what the reason was. Listen, I don't think the Chiefs are ever going to publicly speak out and say why they held him to 16 snaps. Juju Smith-Schuster, who, had a big game against the Saints, but hasn't been as dominant. He had one more snap than Hopkins, which I did not expect to be the case. So I think it's one of those games where unless Buffalo decides to do the exact same thing as the Texans defense and just let Travis Kelce get wide open, you can't have no catches and only 3 targets combined to Hollywood and Hopkins. You got to get them far more involved in this game. Absolutely got to get far more involved. I think another big key here would be Kareem Hunt. I mentioned earlier, Hopkins. This guy's got a lot of motivation coming into this one here because he's never played in a Super Bowl before. Never played in an AFC championship game either. Kareem Hunt has never played in an AFC championship game. Obviously, we talked about how he's missed out on his run. Deron Cherry was talking about it this week too, how, you've got a second chance now, and this is a guy that's probably going to do anything and everything to try to get through. I said earlier, I think a lot of times with these kinds of things, and kind of what I was talking about earlier with players getting doubted going into the draft, I think a lot of them, when they fall in the draft, that's just motivation right there to want to prove a lot of people wrong here. And I think kind of a similar thing here with Kareem Hunt. We can sit here, talk X's and O's and skill sets all day long, but I think Kareem Hunt, a big part of him is just the fire that he's got coming into this game, because we know what happened before. Enough time has passed now. The Chiefs gave him a second chance, especially in a time where they had a lot of injuries, and they felt like this was the time to give him that second chance. And they felt like he's done all the work off the field to be better. Yeah, I think Kareem Hunt's a guy that's going to certainly play with a purpose. And he's played well, too. He hasn't had big, staggering numbers like he did in his first couple of years with the Chiefs or early on in his career with the Browns, but he's done enough to help. He has certainly came into Kansas City earlier in the year when, again, all those injuries were taking place, and kind of helped elevate the offense a little bit when it needed it the most. Some games he would really help lift the offense, and in some games he just provided just a small jolt, just a small amount that was enough to help the team get through here, because they only had one true loss on the season. And I think Kareem Hunt was a big part of that. If Kareem Hunt was not on the team, I don't know if Kansas City starts the season 9-0 like they did this year. I do think there are a couple of losses before the Buffalo game. So Kareem Hunt has certainly been a difference maker for Kansas City. You may not see it on the stat sheet, but as far as the eye test, especially in those short yardage situations, you certainly see Kareem Hunt coming in here and the difference he made offensively. And I think with Pacheco not maybe playing as well, this would be the time for the Chiefs to maybe utilize Kareem Hunt. Because remember the 4 games in a row, Kareem Hunt ran the ball 21 or more times on the ground. We haven't seen that in a long time. He had 27 carries against the Bucs. That was a week 9 Monday Night Football game, I believe. So it's been a very long time since we've last seen Kareem Hunt get a big workload. And I know part of it is they didn't want to run him to the ground and keep doing it over and over again. Part of it is also Kareem Hunt coming back. And I think another part of it was Samaje Perine. He had more familiarity with the offense because he joined the team right after training camp. I know Kareem Hunt joined for his second stint after Perine, but he had a good familiarity with the offense already. But I think those are factors. And I think another factor is maybe Andy Reid saw what he needed to see from Kareem Hunt in those 4 games where he gave him the ball 20 plus times and is thinking maybe we need to save that kind of workload for a specific game. Maybe this is that game. Maybe this is that one. I think you have to pull out all the stops here. And I know a lot of people are saying, oh, well, don't reveal everything. Look, these coaches have very thick playbooks. You can't reveal your entire playbook in one game unless you're running a snap every second of the game, which is obviously impossible. But you guys get what I'm saying. Like, I think this is the one where you pull out all the stops, because I know there's this popular take out there that the Chiefs, Andy Reid specifically, tends to hold back and doesn't always reveal everything. And I agree with that to an extent. I think in the past that has hurt Andy Reid, and we have seen some of those blown leads in years past. But if you're the Chiefs, this is the game, man. The install is already in. I'm sure they ran some plays in practice that had not been ran all year, maybe since training camp. So I think this is the game where Kansas City has to do whatever they've got to do to win this game. Bring out the best plays in your playbook here. Again, that doesn't mean you reveal everything. It's impossible to do. Running anywhere between 50 to 100 snaps just kind of depends how you go about things. But man, if they can find a way to run the ball well and control time of possession, you probably don't need to run a lot of plays too. Just something to be aware of here. Kind of depends on the score and the time of possession in that situation. But yeah, I certainly think that's something that we could see in this game here. And I think that'll open up the passing game as well to get Hopkins and Hollywood more involved in this game than they did last week. So I'm eager to see that. I just feel like offensively, and I know the offensive line has gone through this shift, didn't play its best game last week. I still think Joe Thuney is the best option at left tackle. And I know a lot of people want to talk about the running game. Listen, I disagree with all of the takes out there about how the running game has struggled. When was the running game great or amazing for the Chiefs this year? It really hasn't been. I know Pacheco had a really good game in week 2 against the Bengals right before his injury near the end of the game. But outside of that, we haven't necessarily seen, like, as a unit. And listen, I'm not just talking singular games. I'm talking overall body of work in the season here. The running game hasn't necessarily been. It wasn't like when Priest Holmes was here, or Larry Johnson, or Jamal Charles. But I think it's been good enough to get you through. I mean, didn't the Chiefs, with Thuney at left tackle and Caliendo at left guard, didn't the Chiefs utilize Kareem Hunt more in the fourth quarter and let him, run a few times and help run out the clock, and eventually got that first down where Kareem's went for the slide to put away the game? I mean, that seemed to work just fine with Thuney at tackle and Caliendo at guard. So I just disagree with people who say, and I know I'm in the very small minority on this, I just disagree with people who think that the running game has not been the same. I feel like it's been similar, very similar. I haven't noticed a massive difference. Maybe that's just me, but that's just kind of the way I felt watching this offense all year long. But my point is, I think that the Chiefs, this is the best offensive line they can put together right now. And I think, you have all the weapons in your arsenal. You got a couple of good running backs there. Got a good third down back in Pirine on third and long situations, third and short situations. I think Hunt's the man for those plays there. And then, as far as your pass catchers go, including the running backs I just mentioned, I know Pirine and Hunt probably would be used more for those situations. I mean, what do you not like there? Hopkins, Hollywood, Worthy, two speedsters there, and a good possession receiver in Hopkins. And then you have Travis Kelce, who, he's old and washed up allegedly, but he just had his best game of the season. And look, I know the Texans didn't play well against the Chiefs defensively, but the Texans defense has been pretty damn good all year long. They've been in the top 5 in a lot of categories. Third down conversions allowed, total defense, takeaways, sacks. They just didn't have much of an answer for Travis Kelce. And so for Travis Kelce to have the best game of the year against that kind of defense, I think is pretty encouraging. And I think it also shows what the bye week really does for you, a 24-day bye week, mind you. Because I still have a lot of people, I still remember people saying, oh, they're going to be rusty and that's going to lead to a one and done. Yeah, sure thing. So I just think from an offensive standpoint, and Noah Gray as well, let's not forget about him because he had 2 touchdowns the last time the Chiefs and Bills played. You have all the weapons in your arsenal. You got the ammunition for it. This is going to be a game where the offense has to click, and I think will click. I think it will. This was a missed opportunity to bring back the Guinness Book of World Records. Then again, I think the Chiefs, they like the 142.2. It just rolls off the tongue better. Because what was it before? 137.5. I mean, that just doesn't come out better. 135.7, 142.2. I mean, 142.2 just sounds cooler, I guess. I mean, it's a bigger number, of course, but what if it was like 143.7? I don't know. It just doesn't sound cooler, even though it's slightly bigger. But hey, it should have been a time to bring back the Guinness Book of World Records. I don't know. Maybe the ref could have helped broke the sound record, because that's going to be a thing, of course. Yeah, Calvin. I mean, if Rice was playing, fortunately, I mean, that dude was impossible to stop on a slant route this season, which is a shame because he certainly would have been great for that this game. But we'll see if the Chiefs can pull that out, because I think the Bills are going to have a lot of their defensive players, like the linebackers in the middle of the field there. So I don't know how doable that might be. You got to be very quick about it to throw off the defense too. So we'll see what it is. Is this Taylor's last year of his contract? Every time I see the name Taylor, I think of Taylor Swift, but you're talking about Juwan Taylor? No, he's got 2 years left. 2 more years left, excuse me. And I'm not including this season. Do you actually think they use Justin Ross? Okay, I've said this earlier in the year. Because for those who don't know, Justin Ross was brought up to the 53-man roster by Standard Elevation today, or yesterday, rather. What is like the realistic expectation from Justin Ross? Because he had all of that hype coming into the Chiefs. And, this guy could have been a first-round pick if he didn't have that injury. Okay, cool. Like, Chiefs fans knew that they were going to have to wait a while, but the expectation was that Justin Ross could be a really good player. And he actually had a really good preseason, not this past year, but the year before. This year in the preseason, he was quiet. In fact, he didn't make the 53-man roster. And when the Chiefs decided to cut him, I thought he's gone. He is going to another team. But he came right back to Kansas City's practice squad, which shocked me. And he's been on the practice squad all year. He hasn't been on the team, the main roster, with the exception of Standard Elevations this year. He's been available for any of the 31 other teams to steal. No one's taking him. I don't know what the deal is, because we had all that hype about Justin Ross. Because I saw some people say, "Oh, could he be a red zone threat in this game?" Man, no offense to Justin Ross, but I don't know if I want a guy who, I don't think he's caught a pass all year. Has he? Do we want to really get the ball to a guy who hasn't caught a pass all year when the team's in the red zone? I know the red zone struggles have been very real. So maybe that's the thought behind it, but I just don't know if you can really rely so much on a guy who hasn't been there for you this season. That's my thing. All right, we've been spending a lot of time on the offense. We need to talk about the defense a little bit here. I feel really, really good about the defense. My one and only concern, because listen, I love Spags. This dude's done everything to help the Chiefs, and I'm thrilled that the Jets and the Raiders hired somebody else, because that way the Chiefs keep Spags. But for the love of God, get a quarterback spy. And listen, Spags isn't dumb. So I know he's going to have that ready in this one. It's just that in a lot of games this year, and I think the longer a play develops, I think it's hard to play defense in the NFL. And I'm not talking because of the penalties and whatnot. I'm just talking, the longer a play develops or takes to develop, the more defensive players kind of get caught up. They don't know where to go, because that's when the pass catchers have to improvise. That's also when quarterbacks can get an open lane to run. So if you're a linebacker like Nick Bolton and Leo Chenal, and maybe we see a little bit of Drew Tranquil doing some of that, and I'd even include the rookie safety, Jaden Hicks, because I think he could play some hybrid safety in this game. I think those are four guys who are going to have to keep a close eye on Josh Allen here. I would not be shocked one bit if Jaden Hicks is playing a lot of snaps in this game, because if you do not stop Josh Allen from running for, and I thought the Chiefs did a good job of that until that 26-yard touchdown play. If you do not have an eye on him, good luck. That will be the difference in a win or a loss. Your mom's 80th birthday. Michael, shout out to your mom. She gets to witness history tonight on her 80th birthday. How cool is that? Hopefully I did not jinx anything. I know you guys believe in that stuff. Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you, Chris. I really want to see a big game from Hollywood. Did you hear the Bills players say they're America's team? I did hear that. Yeah, that's they kind of are. Let's be honest, like, who are a lot of people rooting for? But I think the Swifties, they certainly help with the equalizer in that one there. I mean, listen, the Chiefs are the Patriots now. Tom Brady was on Colin Cowherd's show, and Colin Cowherd was like, hey, the Chiefs are now the Patriots. They get the favorable calls, and they also are hated. Brady didn't push back against any of that. I believe this could be something to watch. They left the guy out who helped the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl to elevate Ross. Oh, you're talking about McCole Hardman. Could this be a secret weapon up their sleeve? Again, Kyle, I'm not going to dismiss that, but let me ask you guys a question here, because I'm not trying to shit on Justin Ross or anything. It's just, this is the biggest game of the year against a team that's really going to be fired up, and they want to get over this hump against the Chiefs in the playoffs. When you're in the red zone, who do you want to rely on here? Like, give me your rankings in order, because Justin Ross is not very high on my rankings. I'd rather see the Chiefs try to get the ball to Kelsey or to Hollywood or to Worthy, or maybe on a screenplay to Hunt or Pirine. I don't know how much trust I have in Ross. And if they get a touchdown with Ross, I will screen record whatever I just said here, and I will post it when Justin Ross scores a touchdown, or maybe after the game. Because I know there'll be a lot to talk about as the game goes on. For those who don't know, you got to be very careful with how frequent the volume of posts you have, because you post too much, it can be viewed as what's the word they use? They use a certain word. I can't remember what it is, but they're worried that you're a bot, basically, and there's no way for their team to negate that. Little nice behind the curtain story there from Uncle Zuck and his team, but I digress. You guys don't give a shit about that. Whoever has a better run game will have the advantage in this game. There are teams that have tried to run the ball and run out the clock, not run out the clock necessarily, but try to win time of possession. Because when you can keep a quarterback on the sidelines, which is what you should do against Patrick Mahomes, he does tend to be pretty rusty in those situations there. And that's what you should do. I mean, that's what you see from other quarterbacks. But Mahomes, yeah, I misspoke. He does tend to prove that isn't well enough to stop him. Ross flamed out of Cincy for a reason. I think you're thinking of a different Ross. We're talking about Justin Ross. You're thinking of John Ross, who was drafted 1 pick before Patrick Mahomes. And they say draft placement matters. Matriculate. Oh, look at you, Robert, going back in the history books. Man, we got a lot of people tuning in, listening, watching, all that stuff. I really appreciate you guys. The YouTube numbers have gone up recently, and I really do thank all of you guys. If you haven't done so yet, I'm commenting with the link now. Please do subscribe to my YouTube channel. That's the newer social media that I started using this season, and that's the one that has the fewest followers. So definitely need everyone and anyone's help to get the numbers up on that. So please subscribe to that if you haven't done so already. Let's see. Robert says, I'm hoping we get the 3-peat and we have a bunch of roster turnover. It'll be okay. Yeah, that's kind of where I sit. I know the team may not have that same mindset, but I'm not on the team. I'm a fan. Remigio for a touchdown today. Okay, on offense. Look at you, Michael. I mean, it's your mom's 80th birthday, and here you are with a big, bold prediction. Michael, put a bet on that on DraftKings. Put $1 on that. That's got to pay at least 100. Hold on, I'm looking this up. I'm looking this up for Michael here. What does $1 on DraftKings pay you for a Nico Remigio touchdown? Let's look that up. Same game parlay. Where's our good friend Nico Remigio? Plus 2,800. Whew. Yeah, you put $1 on that bad boy. If it lets me. You gonna let me? Okay, it doesn't want me to bet. DraftKings does not want my money. Oh, I have to add another pick? I can't make that. Okay, I'm going to say Peyton Hendershot. Oh, now I can bet. Let me remove Hendershot. It doesn't let you bet on a Nico. You cannot do a sole Nico Remigio touchdown bet. Okay, I see you, DraftKings. I see how you play this game. I see how you guys are playing. Yeah, that would be my first choice, Brad. Chanel is like another, like 1A, 1B. And then I would say my next would be Hicks, even over Tranquil, because I think Tranquil is better in coverage than Bolton. I mean, they're both very good, don't get me wrong, but Hicks is a guy that could definitely be, because Hicks, with his speed and the hard end, because here's the thing, whenever defenders close in on a quarterback, quarterbacks tend to do a really good job of making defenders miss. So when they do that, quarterbacks just, they tend to take off. But whenever they have to do one of those stutter steps or side steps to make a defender miss, that does slow their momentum down. So if they do that and someone misses, man, the rest of the defense has to hurry and get their ass there to bring that quarterback down. So that's why it's important for this defense to play very well together. I think Charles Omenihu coming back is certainly going to make a difference, as well as having Jalen Watson. Those are two players who the Chiefs did not have on defense. And I know the Chiefs defense gets a lot of shit for that game. I disagree with all of that criticism. The Chiefs, what was the halftime score? It was 16-14. Should have been 17-14, but Tyler Bass missed the PAT. It should have been, it was 16-14. It was the same score going into the fourth quarter. The Bills got the ball first in the second half. Chiefs forced a 3-and-out. Well, unfortunately, the Chiefs paid the Bills back with another 3-and-out. The Bills have a 6-play drive. The Chiefs have a 6-play drive. It was just a really weird third quarter where the Chiefs defense kept getting the stops, and then Buffalo's defense got the same exact stops with a 3-play drive and a 6-play drive. And at that point, it was like, which offense can take advantage of the defense that's kind of getting worn out and maybe even mentally a little tired of the offense not taking advantage here? Unfortunately, it was Buffalo in that one. That is something you cannot afford in this one here. If if the game ends, Matt, like, let's say the game-winning score is Mahomes to Worthy on the deep pass. Brandon Beane is not sleeping this offseason. In fact, like, if you're the owner of the Bills, you need to have like a big whiteboard in Brandon Beane's office, and it needs to say, "Do not trade with Kansas City." I'm not joking. I'm not trying to be funny here. Like, I'm okay. You traded Mahomes to the Chiefs, not Mahomes, but the 10th pick to the Chiefs. Fine. Like, at the time, you didn't know what was going to happen. No one did. No, even in Kansas City. Giving Worthy to the Chiefs. Why take the risk? And I know people are saying, well, Keon Coleman has a better yard per catch average. Okay, that's nice. It really is. Don't get me wrong. I think Keon's a good player, but he hasn't been available for some games. Worthy has been available for every single game. Availability is the best ability. And Keon Coleman has been very, very quiet in the playoffs. 1 catch for 5 yards in both playoff games each. Each game. Amari Cooper's been a little quiet as well. Khalil Shakir's been good. But man, you're going to need more than Khalil Shakir. Like, Coleman and Cooper absolutely need to have big games. Curtis Samuel had his best game of the season against the Chiefs. So, and we know the Chiefs, they tend to struggle against tight ends. So Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox, I would not be shocked if Allen throws the ball to them a lot in this game here. The big glaring weakness on their offensive line is their right guard, Osiris Torrance. He's allowed 41 pressures. That is the 4th most among offensive guards. Wow, y'all, you have a lot of information. Really good stuff. Oh, thank you. Well, it's called research. I love how Bills fans are like, why do you know all this? It's literally called Google. It doesn't take long to do. This is what kind of irritates me, but with a lot of people in sports media. Like, there are a lot of people in sports media who do not do research. Like, literally no research. When I interned for 8, so again, I'll pull back the curtain a little bit here. When I interned at 810, Kevin Keatsman was interviewing a golfer. And the producer was like, hey, Keatsman's interviewing this guy, and I don't remember his name. But he's like, yeah, we need you to do research on this guy. I'm like, okay. I mean, I get I'm an intern here, but if I'm a radio host, I want to do my own research. And I did some research on this guy. This guy was roommates with Tiger Woods at one point. That was like the biggest thing I remember about him. And I don't remember what else I found out about the guy. The producer was like, oh, you did not do a good job. But Keatsman, whether you like him or not, I mean, take it for what it's worth. Keatsman actually read all my notes about the guy, including the Tiger Woods part, being roommates with him. I'm like, you literally did no research on this golfer here, and I did the work for you. All you did was interview the guy. You know, I just don't get the laziness in sports media these days. That's another big reason why I'm not a part of sports media. You guys know I used to be in it several years back. So yeah, appreciate you, Mike, and everyone else. Maybe it had to be $2. No, it wouldn't even let me bet anything. Is Peyton Hendershot still on the Chiefs? Yes, he is on the 53-man roster. At least I believe he is. Yeah, he is. Because if he wasn't there, the Chiefs would only have 2 tight ends. And I don't think they want to have 2 tight ends in a playoff game. Yeah, they've got 3 tight ends, 4 running backs, including Carson Steele. I mean, I consider him a fullback, but neither here nor there. On the Chiefs depth chart, he's listed as a fullback. Wide receivers, including Justin Ross, who's up by standard elevation, the Chiefs have 7 wide receivers. So 7 receivers, 3 tight ends, and 4 backs. And 2 quarterbacks. So, and they have 3 left tackles, including Joe Tooney. Where's Kingsley Suamataia on our lads is listed as a right tackle. That's not correct. Or maybe the Chiefs put him there and they copied off that. I don't know. Picks will get a pick today. I hope so. Justin Reed, pick 6. Oh, look at you guys making all these predictions. Bet $1 on a Remigio TD and $1 on an Omehu forced fumble. I don't think you cannot do individual player forced fumbles, can you? Maybe some places you can. I don't think you can on DraftKings. If I'm wrong, let me know on that one. The first time Hollywood has played back-to-back meaningful games this season, the Bills secondary is going to get beat deep today, and they can pick their poison, Hollywood or Worthy. I mean, Craig, you're right, but I'm going to add to that. I mean, it's not just Hollywood or Worthy. I mean, Hopkins, Kelsey, you can't double team everyone. That's the beauty of this Chiefs offense, is that they're able to get the ball to so many different players. I know we didn't get to see that scenario this year because of all of the injuries. Listen, we'll see if Hollywood and or Hopkins return. Rice is obviously going to go through a suspension, but he will come back. And boy, he would give the offense a nice boost mid-season next year, but we don't want to get into that now. My point is, we didn't get a chance to see that this year, but we have it now. You essentially just swapped out Rice for Hollywood. Rice for Hopkins. Like I said earlier, you have all the weapons in your arsenal. I mean, you can't ask for much more if you're Kansas City here. There was all this hype with Hollywood, Worthy, and Rice. Now it's Hollywood, Worthy, and Hopkins. So listen, one player swap right there, but essentially the same style of offense you really wanted. So let's see what they do. Yeah, I'm with you, Matthew. I think a lot of people agree with that as well. Why do you think the Chiefs have trouble with opposing teams' tight ends? Yeah, I'm not really sure. I think part of it is the secondary has probably been more focused on the receivers than they have with tight ends. I think that's what's allowed them opposing offenses to have a lot of success with the tight ends. I think the Chiefs get a lot of pressure on quarterbacks, but the sack production has not been there. Like, for example, Josh Allen, when the Chiefs and Bills played earlier this year, the Chiefs got 26 pressures on Josh Allen, but not a single sack. And when you look at Josh Allen in that game, he was 27 of 40 for 262 yards. Pretty solid day there. Would have maybe liked to have a better completion percentage there, but, did enough to win. And obviously, Allen does a lot with his feet as well. And Bryce Young, he did a really good job of taking it. He pressured a lot in that game, and I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but boy, he certainly took advantage of the open receivers at the very last second. And I think that has a lot to do with Jalen Watson not being there, because Jalen Watson replaced L'Jarius Sneed. Sneed, obviously a phenomenal cornerback, went to Tennessee, unfortunately got hurt there. But Jalen Watson was doing a really good job this year filling in and replacing L'Jarius Sneed. And ever since his injury, there's kind of been a carousel of that number 2 cornerback position. We saw Najee Johnson, didn't really do too well. Better for those blitz packages with his speed, far more than being a cover corner. We saw Josh Williams. We even saw Keith somebody. I almost had Keith Langford. That was a former KU Jayhawk. Keith somebody. What's his name? We've seen Christian Roland Wallace, Keith Taylor. He's been in there as well. So the Chiefs have kind of gone through that carousel of cornerbacks. Even last week, I noticed that Watson wasn't there for some plays, but that was his first game back. So just, we got to be mindful of that as well. I think a lot of people were surprised Watson came back. People thought that injury was a season ender, regardless how far the Chiefs got, but he came back and he's playing through that. He's shown flashes. He certainly has not played like a first-round pick. I know it was a late first-rounder, but you still expect a lot out of a guy who was drafted in the first round, whether it's number 1 or number 32. In FAU's case, 31, because one of the teams lost their first-round pick. But he's done a really good job in years past stopping the run. I remember last year, and I know there were a lot of backups involved, so you can't really put too much into that one. But I remember in the Week 18 game last year against the Chargers, FAU had a couple of nice run stops in that game. In the Super Bowl, which was the only playoff game he played in last year, he had a couple of nice run stops against Christian McCaffrey, who was the best running back last season. He's had a couple of those this year as well. So if there's anything that I would expect from FAU, maybe you think of James Cook and how good of a running back he is. One of the more underrated running backs, in my opinion. But yeah, I would say maybe some stuff against the run for sure. Yeah, when you look at the Bills, this is interesting because outside of Josh Allen, who was their only Pro Bowler? Deion Dawkins. And I know I don't put a lot of stock in the Pro Bowl, but my point is, even Buffalo fans, because let's be honest, Buffalo does have a very passionate fan base. All these fans love to vote their guys into Pro Bowls, even though they say they don't care about Pro Bowls. All the teams promote that stuff, and fans always want to get their guys in. Dawkins is the only guy who got into the Pro Bowl. And when it comes to the All-Pro, Josh Allen is their only All-Pro, first and second team. Allen was second team. Lamar was a first-team quarterback this year on the All-Pro team. So my point is this, because Colin Cowherd put it best. He says that Patrick Mahomes puts on his superhero cape when he has to, when he needs to. The Bills make Josh Allen wear his cape all game long. Yeah. Why is that? Because the Bills don't have any other guys on their team. And I know Bills fans will use that as leverage and say, oh, that's what makes Allen a better quarterback than Mahomes and Lamar and everyone else. Okay. Sure, let's go with that for 2 seconds. But what good does it do you if he doesn't have any other playmakers? And again, I don't think he should have been an All-Pro this year. I think the running backs who were selected are certainly the right choices, but I still think that James Cook is an underrated running back. This guy was tied second for the most red zone touchdowns. He had 18 on the season. All 16 of his rushing touchdowns were red zone scores. 2 of them were against Kansas City. But the Chiefs still held James Cook to 2.2 yards per carry. So the Chiefs do a really good job of stopping running backs. I think Joe Mixon had the best game of any running back this year against Kansas City. He ran for 88. I said 82 on the Red Friday live chat. My apologies. It was 88. That is the most by a running back. The only 100-yard rusher against Kansas City was Lamar Jackson all the way in the beginning of the season. I hope so. I mean, listen, unless Hollywood plays the best game ever today and in 2 weeks, I don't think he's in big position to demand a lot of money. And it's not like he demanded much money in the offseason. He signed a 1-year, $8 million deal. Hopkins, he signed with the Titans. A part of it is Kansas City was not in position to sign anyone because they were kind of stuck with the salary cap and Chris Jones. That whole matter was going on at the time. So I'm just looking at those two right there. I think Hollywood certainly would be much easy to re-sign. Hopkins, that one's kind of up in the air. There are some people who think Hopkins could retire. I don't think so. I mean, he's 32 or 33. He entered the year the same, the NFL the same year as Travis Kelce. He's 32. He turns 33 in June. You have a couple more years left, 1 or 2 more good years left in the tank, I believe. Now, I'm not nervous at all. I see a lot of you guys saying you guys are nervous. Not me. Not me, oddly enough. Last year, I was nervous in a lot of games. I don't know what just happened. Did I just cut out? I was nervous as the games were going on. And I got to give a shout out to my friend, Coach Eric Peterson, he's the baseball coach for Benedictine College. I met him when he was the director of baseball ops at KU. Really, really nice guy. We've kept in touch over the years. And he was, I texted a couple people during the games, and he was one of them. And he told me, he goes, stop freaking out. I'm like, okay. I've learned from him. So I'm trying to, honestly, I don't, I'm not nervous. I'm just not. I mean, they brought him, and I think that was more as an insurance policy, but they didn't really need him this year. So unless someone goes out with an injury, I don't think he's going to be on the 53 anytime soon. No, I don't agree with that necessarily. I don't know. I mean, listen, I like both guys. Like I said, Cook is underrated. Should he have been a Pro Bowler over Mixon? I don't know. Who else? I mean, Derrick Henry, obviously no one better than him. I can't remember who the other AFC running back was, but for now, we know Taylor Rapp is out. And the other one could be Christian Benford. I don't really know all the details with the concussion protocol. But I saw something out there that if you're not a full participant, that you don't play. Take that for what it's worth. I have not confirmed that, but I know that's out there on social media. Let's be honest, whatever's on social media is a fact nowadays, right? What did Elon Musk say? You are all the media. Yeah. So For all you podcasters who claim to be a part of the media, there you go. Elon said so. The expert with Sky Moore is done. The expert with Sky Moore is done. I think you meant to say the experiment with Sky Moore is done. That I absolutely agree with. I don't think you can really. I think the Chiefs have done anything and everything with Sky Moore this year. So I think they'll be fine there. Well, thank you, Sally. I appreciate you and all of you, everyone else tuning in, listening. So thank you guys. I don't know what it is. I'm more confident this year than I was last year against the Bills. You know, that Bills game last year, I know Bills fans love to say, oh, the only reason they won is because Tyler Bass missed the kick. No, that's not the only reason why. In fact, if we want to talk about Tyler Bass missing the kick, the reason Tyler Bass had a chance to tie is because Mecole Hardman fumbled at the 1 and it rolled into the end zone for a touchback. Had Mecole not fumbled, that would have been, or if the Chiefs called a better play than doing something silly inside the 5, the Chiefs would have been up 10 points on the road. And by the way, mind you, Josh Allen missed an open Khalil Shakir 2 plays before that. So the way I look at last year's game too is the fact that the Chiefs, they played really well defensively. They did not allow a big play over 20 yards. In fact, the biggest play the Bills had was 18 yards 2 different times in that game. The Chiefs, they had 6 plays for negative yardage in that game. 4 of them were QB kneels, and that was in Buffalo. Now, every game's a different game, but I think, having the game in Kansas City is a big difference maker. I know some people think the whole home field advantage is not a big deal as it once used to be. Some people still believe in that. I think it certainly depends on where you're playing. Listen, and I'm throwing a very random team out there. Let's say Cleveland hosted an AFC championship game. Cleveland is not known for having a loud, rowdy fan base because they haven't really had any reason to be loud or rowdy for so long. But let's say Cleveland hosted an AFC championship game. Don't you think they would be rowdy for that one AFC championship game? Because that would be probably the first ever AFC championship game they've ever hosted. That's probably the first ever AFC championship game in Eddie Brown's fans' lifetime. So, yeah, they certainly would be fired up in the stands for that one. I think any fan base would if they're hosting a conference title game. Oh, well, thank you for listening, Terry. If it wasn't for people like you and everyone else listening, there's no reason to do a podcast. It would literally just be me, this microphone, and this camera I'm looking at. That really would be it. Thank you, Jenny. I appreciate you guys. Our boy going to block the winning field goal today. Chanel, watch. That happens. Twitter is going to fucking explode. How do you get lucky? You know what's funny? People still bring it up. Like, how do you get 3 guys to come close to blocking a kick? If you actually watch this thing called game film, you will see that Alex Forsyth, the offensive lineman who allowed the blocked kick to even happen, he's been getting knocked on his ass all year long, including that game. But Kansas City found a way to exploit that and no one else did. So it's Kansas City's fault and the game is rigged. You know what's funny to me? All these people who talked about how football is rigged, if you're convinced football is rigged, number one, why do you watch? Because seriously, that has to be the most exhausting way to watch a football game, to watch it, forcing yourself to watch it and convincing yourself it's rigged. Second of all, if you are really convinced that the games are predetermined and that it all goes in favor of one team, why are you not betting on the games? I heard someone asking, they're like, if you do all this, why do you bet? The better question is, why don't you bet? Because if I seriously was convinced that one team gets serious favoritism in the league, I'd be betting everything on that team. I mean, that's free money right there. What is your level of confidence with Butker today? Very high. I know he struggled this year, but when it matters the most, here's a trick question. When was the last time Butker missed a game tying or a game winning field goal? When was the last time he missed that? Trick question is never. He never has. His very first game as a Kansas City Chief, he made a game winning field goal. his rookie year in 2017, same year Patrick Mahomes was brought into the Chiefs. That was against the Washington Redskins. That was before they rebranded. So I know Butker has struggled this year. Maybe not struggle is not the right word. He has not been playing at a high level. And I think part of it has to do with the knee surgery, the amount of time coming back. But yeah, I have a lot of confidence in Butker because even in Super Bowl 57, not the most recent one, the one before against the Eagles, he missed a kick in the first quarter. And then what does he do? He makes it later to win the game. I know it was a chip shot field goal, but you can't, the amount of weight and pressure on your shoulders to kick a game-winning field goal, even if it's from close range, you still got to come through in those situations. Yes, sir, it is. It is by CJ Graham. Super, super cool guy. And shame on me, man. When I met him, I had no idea he was in the military. I wish I knew that so I could have thanked him for that. But hopefully I get a chance to meet him another time. Home field advantage always boosts an energy in the air, but I don't think that's a factor today because teams travel for these level games nowadays. Yeah, I get what you're saying. I just feel like, I'd rather take my chances at home than on the road for sure. No, thank you, Lori. So yeah, I agree. I was surprised he got a couple of votes for All Pro. I really was. Don't get me wrong. I think he's been doing some really good things this year. I don't think he's been playing at an all pro level, but some people certainly believed it. I'll read a couple more and get out of here. Man, it's been an hour. Time flies when you're having fun. Leo Chenal has 3 blocks in less than a year. Yeah, exactly. Like, you do not get lucky with that. I still can't believe the referees blocked that PAT last year. Oh boy. Can't believe the Bills use bulletin board material in the incorrect way. Oh, their fans. So Rally House, for those who don't know, that's one of the popular sports apparel stores in Kansas City. Rally House has a sign at their front door that says AFC Champions merch will be available with a win. And they underlined with a win. And someone from the Buffalo media took a picture of that and posted that. Obviously, they were looking for an angle. And Bills fans were like, this is premature. They're already celebrating. This is already rigged. Folks, I know some Buffalo fans are new to this, but they make these in advance. Like, they literally have shirts ready at these stores. And they sell out pretty quickly because they don't make very many of them. But trust me, like inside Arrowhead Stadium right now, they have Chiefs shirts. I would imagine there are some Buffalo shirts because they do anticipate some Buffalo fans in this game. But yeah, that's like, I guarantee you Buffalo has the same thing in their stores. Like, come on, you can't be that naive. I know a lot of people love to run with this narrative of rigged and all that shit, but come on, you can't be that dense. No, that's a good point. Honestly, outside of the question, I haven't really talked about it. So I actually got to run and pick some pizza ups real soon. I just remember that. If Mahomes saw the skit on ESPN with Kevin Hart making fun of how to hit him, Mahomes will have a massive game. What the hell are you talking about, Ethan? I need to Google this. I think it's awesome. I love it. I'm just like Eric Cartman over here. Like, your tears are so delicious. Oh yeah, they couldn't spell. What did they say? Material waste, and they spelled. I actually Googled material waste, and they show like those like to exist waistbands. I'm like, okay, that's what comes up. Teresa says, "Let's go Chiefs." And on that note, we are going to wrap it up here. Hey, thank you guys so much. You guys are awesome. I really do appreciate all of you guys, not just tonight, but this year. With the live streams, everything, the podcast, the content. I actually was looking up the numbers right now. Let me just see something real quickly. Because in the Super Bowl, I don't really keep too I don't really read the numbers too much. I have been this year because they're at an all-time high. We are very close to 126,000 followers. We had 86,000 followers the day of the Super Bowl. That's what I always keep track of. I like to know how many followers we had the day of the Super Bowl for the last like 7 or 8 years. Guys, if we can hit 126,000 before the game, we will have hit 40,000 new followers in the last 50 weeks. So that's awesome. That's because of you guys. I know you guys have been sharing all of the content, whether it's the podcast, the live streams, the reels, or just any of the photos, the posts, any of that stuff. I know you guys have been doing all of that. So thank you so much. Obviously, we still have 2 more weeks before the Super Bowl, so we can still up the numbers a little more, but we are very close to reaching 40,000 followers since Super Bowl 58 kicked off. That's already the most we've had in a single 12-month span. So the numbers are massive. The podcast numbers are at an all-time high. The live streams, the video views, they're all at an all-time high, and it's not even close. And I was talking to someone who's I'll refrain from saying their names. They're kind of a well-known person out there, but he was telling me about his YouTube success. And he mentioned that once you reach a certain number, the numbers do tend to skyrocket because a lot more people have eyes on your content, and they'll, sharing something on social media is the new word of mouth. And you guys have been doing that. Please continue to do that. Let your friends know. Thank you guys so much. It really does mean a lot that you guys have been doing that this year. I really do appreciate all of you guys. And I see a lot of you guys in the comments. I know I don't get to read. There used to be a time where I got to read every single comment. We are not at that point anymore. That's not me trying to say I'm better than everyone. It's just not. It's just kind of the way things have gone. Yeah, Robert, it kind of has. It's been a little hard to keep up with. I get comments from people who are like, why don't you ever respond to my comment? Dude, between this, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, whatever else I do, Blue Sky, even though I don't use Blue Sky, I get thousands of comments daily. I'd love to respond to all of you. That's why we do the Red Friday live chat, because I read almost every single comment there. So if you really want me to respond to you, go to the Red Friday live chat. That's my response to you. Okay, I'm out of here, guys. Thank you so much once again. Reminder, come back at halftime. We'll do our halftime live stream. It'll be a short live stream, and then post-game podcast. We will do the Chiefs Zone podcast. I'll have the link for you guys to call in after the game. All you got to do is click the link, turn on your audio, your video, put in your name. We can chat it up afterwards. And if you're going to be at the game today, have a lot of fun. Be safe and cheer loud. Run AFC. Let's do this. Go Chiefs. I'm out. I'll talk to you all later.